Welcome back, budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, disciple of Christ, husband, father, and financial coach. And today on the New Money Habits podcast, I want to talk to you about the buy now, pay later trap and why buy now, pay later is hurting your financial future. Hey there, budgeteers. The new year is here, and you know what that means. It's time for fresh starts and new habits. If one of your goals is to get better with your money, New Money Habits has exactly what you need to kick things off right: the Payday Power Planner. This isn't just any budget tool. The Payday Power Planner is designed to work with your pay periods, not just the calendar month. Why does that matter? Because it helps you to see exactly when your money is coming in and going out. No surprises, no guesswork. With the Payday Power Planner, you'll know if you're working with a surplus or facing a deficit, so you can make informed decisions about your money. It's not just a plan, it's the clarity and control you've been looking for to start the new year strong. Make this the year you finally build new habits for financial freedom. Grab your free Payday Power Planner from New Money Habits today and take the first step toward a better financial future. Visit newmoneyhabits.com now, because this year it's time for a better plan for your money. I wanted to start today's episode with a little bit of a personal reflection. I have been helping people and coaching people on their personal finances since 2013, so for the past 12 years. And I've been wondering if I have the same passion for financial literacy that I once did. And the truth is, when I sit down with a client, when I facilitate a class, these things really get me revved up. When I talk about financial literacy with others, I get really revved. And here I am, 178 episodes into the podcast, and some of the podcasts are great, and some of them are not as good as I'd like them to be. The ones where I get to have a conversation with somebody else, I think, are probably more entertaining, at least, than my solo conversations just with you, the listener. But I really do have a passion for financial literacy. And as I was reflecting on it recently, I think partly it's been called into question on my end because I have a couple of different passions, and I evaluate each one of those passions to see how closely aligned it is to God's call on my life, His purpose for my life, and His will. And I've had to do some learning about what those things even mean. As I took a deeper dive into God's will for my life and for anybody's life, it is that we are joyful, that we rejoice in all things regardless of our circumstances. It's that we are thankful and grateful for the things that we have, and we focus on what we have, not on what we don't have. And sometimes we're even thankful and grateful for the things we don't have because God is protecting us. And so I'm always evaluating, what is in line with God's great commission, right? To go and share the gospel with those who have not heard. And so I'm like, okay, well, is my passion for that greater and need to replace my passion for financial literacy? And I'm being reminded that the Lord has gifted me with a couple of incredible gifts. First, the Lord has gifted me with a God-given desire to help other people. I enjoy helping other people. That's probably not always been the case, but I definitely enjoy helping other people. And I've always had a God-given knack for numbers, for math. I'm actually being reminded of that as I'm helping my daughter complete a math course over the summer that's going to allow her to join accelerated math when she returns to school. And I kind of have a knack for math. And I, like most people who probably thought they would be a teacher at some point in their childhood, I always kind of thought I'd be a teacher because, lo and behold, I have this God-given talent for teaching. And so as I'm reflecting on it, here I am. I love to help people. I'm good at math, and I have a God-given talent to teach. And so doesn't it make sense that I'd be a personal finance coach? Because I'm also very practical. I really like helping people learn something practical and useful. And when I think about why I got started in financial literacy, it's because I know that it doesn't exist out there. There's just such a lack of financial education around how to manage money properly, how to manage it well, that there's a great need for conversations like these. And when I reflect on scripture and what God's word has to say, I'm reminded of Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, where Jesus says, "You cannot serve two masters, for you'll love one and you'll despise the other. You can't serve both God and money." And so another reason I love financial literacy is because when we can take control of money as the tool that it is, and we don't allow it to control us, it opens us up to serve the God we were meant to serve. Instead of serving money by putting in long hours and chasing that next promotion or what have you, that when the stress that comes with money goes away, and when we are in control of our finances instead of our finances being in control of us, it opens us up to be everything that the Lord has called us to be. It allows us to operate in our purpose according to his call and according to his will. And so, I don't know, I wanted to reflect on where I'm at in my passion and my desire to help people financially. I love it. I love it. I have recently been questioning my commitment and my passion for these conversations and just for helping people. But as I'm reflecting on it, I love it. I love it. I love it. But I want to love it for all the right reasons. And the number one reason is I love helping people reduce the stress they have around their finances so that they can take control of their finances so their finances are not controlling them. And that is in part why I do what I do. So let's jump into today's conversation. Today's conversation, I want to address this idea of buy now, pay later, something that was kind of made commonplace in the 80s, but it is rampant today. The idea that I can finance anything and everything is getting to a point, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. It's getting up to a point of ridiculousness. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you have probably heard me talk about the idea of financing a cell phone and how by saying yes to monthly payments, we pay way more for items now than we used to. I remember when a cell phone if it was $150, that was a lot. And now cell phones are easily over $1,000 because we've said yes to monthly payments. But now we're going into this season of financing our cheeseburgers. So we've gone from cell phones to cheeseburgers because now our food delivery apps allow us to put our food purchases on payments. This $80 meal, just split it over four $20 payments. Because why? Because it feels more manageable, because it feels more affordable. Why are we financing our food? Now, it hasn't started with these delivery apps. With credit cards, we've been financing food. If you go out to dinner and you put it on a credit card, if you go through the drive-thru and put it on a credit card, you've been financing your food. But it's gotten to a point of, if you can see my face right now, I'm squinting. I've got that look of confusion. Are you serious? We're financing food. So I want to challenge this idea of buy now, pay later with something that's going to serve you better, something that's going to allow you to be in control of your finances. But before I do that, let's unpack this buy now, pay later mentality a little bit further so that we can challenge it and that we can reframe it. As we finance things like cell phones and now our cheeseburgers, we see that more and more fast food apps and these apps that offer mobile orders are now offering installment payments. And so we've taken something that we would normally have just bought with cash, we moved to putting it on the plastic, and now we're doing installment payments. And I think the byproduct of a lot of this that we don't necessarily realize is what I mentioned earlier. We now pay more, a lot more, for goods and services because we've said yes to payments. If somebody truly could not afford, let me say that a different way. Imagine if you could only buy a cell phone with cash. Imagine for just a moment, you could only buy it with cash. You could not buy it with a debit or a credit card, and you certainly couldn't finance it through the phone company. You could only buy it in cash. Well, then you'd either have to have the cash or you take out some type of loan to be able to get the cash to go buy the phone. Would you spend $1,000 cell phone if you had to pay cash for it? My contention is no, you wouldn't. That if we had said no to payments and no to financing, then cell phones would never have gotten to be as expensive as they are. That's my contention. That's my claim. I have very little in the way of evidence to back up my claim. It's very anecdotal, but it's common sense. It's common sense. Here's how I know you wouldn't buy a $1,000 cell phone with cash, because you don't. You don't. If you were okay with the cell phone being $1,000, you would just pull out the cash, buy the cell phone up front and outright, and it would be a done transaction. But it's not, because you don't like the idea that it's $1,000 any more than I do. But they've made the monthly payment affordable, and so you're okay with the monthly payment. For most cell phone companies, they divide that $1,000 over a period of 2 years. So you take the $1,000, you divide it by 24 months, and you have $41.67. And you feel okay with that. If the phone cost $41.67, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That'd be reasonable. A device for $42, that's going to last me, 3-5 years, give or take. But the idea that it's a $1,000 device that needs to be replaced every 2 years is ridiculous. And we have said yes to $42 a month. Anybody remember Blockbuster Video? I worked at Blockbuster Video back when I was in my early 20s. And I remember that for a period of time we were running promotional pricing where a new release cost $1.99 to rent. By the time I finished my Blockbuster career, I don't remember the exact pricing, but it was probably closer to $3. So it went up from $2 to $3, probably not a big deal, except when you're working in it and you feel it every time a customer comes up and reminds you that your prices have gone up. But now how much does it cost to rent these things digitally online? There's not even a physical, I know they have to pay for licensing, but there's not even a physical item that you are renting. No VHS, no DVD. And it's $5, $6 to rent. I get that things are going to go up in price, but my contention is, without any evidence, that a lot of things have gone up in price simply because we've said yes to payments. Payments have caused automobiles to cost far more than they would if we said no to payments. They've caused houses to be just incredibly overvalued. I live outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And in 2010, I bought my house. It's a 4-bedroom, 2,000 square foot home. We bought it for $119,000. And at the time, I thought, it's probably more like a $200,000 house just because it was 2010. We're 2 years into the Great Recession of 2008, where home values and prices just really tanked. But we didn't hit the bottom until 2012. And so this house, although it was a new build, was sold for even less for the next 2 years. And here we are, 15 years later. I could put my house on the market for $400,000. I love my home. I am incredibly grateful that I bought it when I did, because the truth is I could not afford to buy my house today. Let that sink in for a second. I'm a college educated person who makes a good living, who has by design decided to be a one income household, in that I'm the only one that works outside of the house. My wife and I agreed a long time ago. She wanted to be able to stay at home with our kids, raise them, take care of the home. She does that. It's an incredibly important job, but it doesn't draw an income. So I work for income, make a good living, and couldn't afford to live in my starter home. This is still considered an entry-level starter home here in the greater Phoenix area, because we all said yes to payments. And I'm guilty there too, but part of that is all of the migration from California to Arizona, people selling their homes there for $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, and then they turn around and they're like, "You only want $300,000 for a house out here? I will offer you $350,000." Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. But this idea of payments, while it made sense for things like purchasing a home and maybe eventually for automobiles, we have really gotten a little bit crazy with this buy now, pay later idea. And now we finance cell phones, we finance our hamburgers and our Chipotle and our Taco Bell. It's kind of gotten out of control. And the idea here is, just because the payment is broken into chunks, it doesn't mean the item is affordable. It just means that you're going to kind of feel the regret of your purchase in pieces, I suppose. And so I want to jump into a little bit of the psychology of what's going on and the antidote for how do we get out of this buy now, pay later. And so you may be asking yourself, so what? Why are we even talking about this? It's because in the last year, 40% of borrowers have missed payments on whatever it might be, whether that's their mortgage, their car payment, credit cards, or some type of installment payment plan. Nearly half of borrowers have missed payments. And if we look back at 2008, 2007, 2008, the big housing crash, that's where it started. People started missing payments because they were overextended. They are over leveraged, They have done too much of the buy now, pay later, and it is death by 1,000 cuts.
Hey there, budgeteers. You know, good news can only be good news if there's bad news. So, what's the bad news? The bad news is you and I have a deadly disease called sin, and this disease causes us to rebel and disobey God. See, God is holy, righteous, and just, and He cannot be in the presence of sin. So, this horrible disease of ours separates us from the God who created us. And the bad news gets worse. There isn't anything you or I can do to make ourselves right with God. We are dead in our sins and on our way to an eternity separated from God. But that's not God's will for us. See, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. God did what only God could do. He made a way for us to be reconciled to Him through Jesus Christ. Jesus came into the world to save sinners like you and me. While we were still sinners, storing up God's anger against us for our rebellion and disobedience, Christ died for us. Jesus took the punishment that you and I deserve and have earned. Jesus is the substitute for your punishment and mine. Now, isn't that some good news? The word gospel means good news. The gospel of Jesus Christ is that you and I broke God's law and Jesus paid the fine. When we place our faith and trust in Jesus, we get to experience God's grace and mercy. Our gratitude should turn us from our rebellious and disobedient sin toward God, seeking after Him and His righteousness. When we do, God gives us a new heart and a new mind. Praise God for His goodness, and remember, God loves, humans sin, Jesus saves.
So let's take a look at the psychology of buy now, pay later and see why does this even work? Like how is it that we even fall into this trap? And one of the biggest reasons why we fall into this trap, especially here in our culture in the United States, is that people love instant gratification. Everybody wants what they want when they want it. Why should I have to wait until tomorrow for the thing that I want today? And this is just the wrong mentality. The idea of splitting $80 into 4 payments that feel small and manageable, I was going to say sounds like a good idea. It doesn't even sound like a good idea, but I can see how we would fall for that. Like this $80 purchase, it's only going to be, 4 payments of $20. I can handle $20, a month for the next 4 months and pay for this $80 thing. But it's not as though we're doing it for one item. You do this 6 times over again, and the thing that cost $80, you now have payments on 6 different things costing you $120 a month. If you have $120 a month for payments, then just buy the thing for $80 cash and wait for the other things. And so we do this and we have all these overlapping obligations and we overextend ourselves. And it ties to money scripts, things that you believe about money. One of those scripts might be something like, you were taught that you deserve it now, right? That there is no reason why you can't have what you want when you want it. I just said that money script a few moments ago. I want what I want when I want it. That script is not serving you well. I deserve it does not serve you well. I'll figure it out later. I got to be honest, this is one that I fall into. Because of the nature of my employment and being a small business owner, having multiple streams of income, sometimes I tell myself I will figure it out later. That does not serve me well. It does not serve you well. So the idea of like, I'm going to do it now, buy now, and I'm going to take care of it later, pay later, it feels like a solution to an immediate want or need, but it's a trap. It's a trap, and it's a trap set by our stinking thinking. Sometimes I like to think about these money scripts that we have, especially the ones that don't serve us well, as stinking thinking. You got some stinking thinking, Lincoln. I have some stinking thinking. The idea that I want what I want when I want it. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't get what I want. I'll figure it out later. I deserve it. These are not serving you. And this is not just for people who are like low income. There is a difference between being poor and being broke. I have sat down with couples who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year who are broke, because there's a difference between being broke and being poor. Broke people are overextended. Broke people don't have a plan. Broke people don't like to budget. That's what makes them broke. It doesn't mean that they're not strong income earners. And so and I've said this before, whether you make $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year does not matter. How you manage what you make makes all the difference in the world. So, what is the antidote to these stinking thinking? Well, we have to retrain our brain. We have to see things from a new perspective, and we have to adjust our thinking. So, if you are stressed out about money, if you are overextended and you are concerned about your financial situation, there is a better pathway to peace. And that's what I love to help people find is peace in their finances. So instead of buy now, pay later, how about we plan now and buy later? See how we just flipped that? Instead of BNPL, buy now, pay later, let's go PNBL, plan now, buy later. It's all in the mindset. It's budgeting before buying, it's saving in advance, and it's freedom. Think about this, that cell phone that you want. If you want a new cell phone and you actually plan for it and you save up for it, first of all, there's no debt. Second of all, you have some time on your side to help you to determine whether or not you actually want the thing that you're saving up for, so that when you go to buy it, there's no regret. And then think about the peace that you have when you don't have to concern yourself with payments. The purchase is done, it's over, you move on. When the purchase is not done, when it's not over, when that cell phone payment is part of your cell phone bill, and you're looking at your cell phone bill and it's $240 a month, and you're wondering why, and it's because you have 4 devices that you're paying $30 or $40 a month on, and you can't wait until those devices are paid off, only to be suckered right back into it's been 2 years, your phone is outdated, you need the newest one, and so you're going to go right back into payments. But again, that's a different story for a different day. Let's stay on track here, Nino. If I have 4 devices and I'm paying $30 a month, $120 of my $240 bill is tied up in payments on cell phones. And so every month you're reminded, man, my bill would only be $120 if only these cell phones were paid. And so there's this mental clutter. Month after month after month, you are reminded you don't own this phone. You don't own fill in the blank, whatever you're making payments on. If you are paying $20 a month on an installment plan for a to-go order, you don't even own the food that you have already digested and processed. Which leads me to this other idea that just came to mind. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I do think it is interesting that these finance companies are willing to take a risk on providing financing for something that they have no collateral for. Okay, but like I said, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Do not hear what I am not saying. This is not saying you can't have things. You can't have the latest cell phone. So it's not about saying no. It's about saying not yet and making a plan for it so that you are in control of your money. Your money is not in control of you. Okay, next I want to talk about how you can live a plan now, buy later lifestyle in a society that tells you to buy now, pay later. Hey there, budgeteers. It's a brand new year, and that means it's time for new habits, starting with your money. Take charge of your finances in 2025 with New Money Habits Financial Coaching. This isn't your typical financial advice. New Money Habits is all about giving you the knowledge, tools, and support to make confident money moves and build a rock solid financial foundation. Here's the deal: we're offering a free discovery session to kick off your journey to financial freedom. That's right, no strings attached. In this session, one of our expert coaches will help you to identify your financial goals and create a better plan for your money. We'll help you master your money mindset, sharpen your money management skills, and keep you accountable every step of the way. Make 2025 the year you say goodbye to financial stress and hello to the freedom you've been dreaming about. Schedule your free discovery session today and start creating the new money habits you need to achieve financial freedom. All right, so how are we going to shift our behavior? We talked a little bit about the psychology. We have a little bit of understanding that we're set up for these traps through our stinking thinking. So we're going to change our thinking, but now we have to change our behaviors. And so what can we do practically? At the beginning of this episode, I said I love to help people with practical ideas that are going to help them with their money. So let's not just keep this all theoretical and like maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that, or think about these things. It's, hey, let's do these things. So first, let's stop borrowing. Let's stop putting things on payments. Let's not finance our food. Let's not finance our phones. I challenge you, I encourage you to pay off the portion of your cell phone bill that is the device and don't finance your next one. Save up and buy it outright. And I'll tell you, I do not buy the latest and greatest phones. While I do have a Samsung phone, it is not the S series. So it's not their top of the line. It is their A series. I don't remember if this is the A25, the A32. I don't remember which A model I have currently. But when I bought it, it was like $200 total. Not 800, not 1,000, not 1,200, $200. And so I just pay $200 for the phone. And then I'm done with it. I don't have to think about whether or not I own this phone. I own the phone as much as anybody can own anything nowadays. So let's stop borrowing money. Let's stop putting things on installment plans. So how are you going to afford and how are you going to pay for the things that you want? Let's get back to a former concept that does serve us well called a sinking fund. If you're unfamiliar with what a sinking fund is, it just means that you're going to sink money into a fund over time to pay for the thing that you want. So let's say you do want the next latest $1,000 phone. Well, I would encourage you to start a sinking fund, whether digital or physical, label it cell phone. Figure out how much money you're going to put into it every month. Are you going to put 25 bucks into it, 50 bucks, $100? How much are you going to fund this sinking fund every month, every paycheck? How much money are you going to put in it? And then you start to put that amount of money into the sinking fund so that over time, and part of this is doing a little bit of basic math. If you know you want to replace your phone in 6 months and you're trying to save $1,000, just take 1,000 divided by 6. That would mean saving $167 a month. Okay, can you fit that into your budget? Do you want to break that down over each paycheck? Are you paid bi-weekly? So we're going to do this twice a month. And so if we're going to do it twice a month, it's about $84. But that's a really kind of odd number. So can your budget handle $100 per paycheck, $200 a month, so that in 5 months, you've saved yourself the $1,000 to replace your cell phone? And then that way, you're in control of it. And if something changes, you haven't made a commitment to the purchase already. And now you're obligated to the payments. See, you might be asking yourself, and this is some more stinking thinking. You might be asking yourself, well, Nino, if I'm just going to save $100 a month, then why can't I just have the $40 payment every month? You could, but there's a significant difference. The $40 is an obligation. You are now obligated, contractually obligated to pay that money. When you are saving, if something came up and you simply couldn't, it's not as big a deal. It might be a big deal in the way that you're thinking, man, I have this savings goal. I really want to stick to it. And something's impeding that. And so it's a big deal from that perspective. But nobody's coming to repossess your cell phone if you don't save the $100 this month or this paycheck. So there's a difference between the obligation to the payment and the commitment to saving. There's a difference between commitment and obligation. You're trying to commit to saving. If something happens and you can't save in a particular pay period, it's not the end of the world. When you have an obligation and you can't meet that obligation financially, there are going to be consequences. Maybe not immediate, but there will be consequences, whether that is late fees, whether that is repossession. Something bad will happen. And so it's not just about cell phones. You can use a sinking fund for vacations. I've done other episodes where I talk about using credit cards wisely. I'm not somebody who says no credit cards. I'm somebody who says credit cards are a financial tool that you need to learn how to use because they are a very dangerous tool. But once you know how to use them safely, they're an effective tool. So, vacations, if I have a sinking fund for a vacation, and I actually just sat down with a client last week in which we were talking about one of her upcoming vacations, and she has a savings goal of $3,000. She currently has $2,300 saved in her sinking fund toward that $3,000 goal and her trip. And we use a credit card wisely. The number one rule, or rule number one of a credit card, is don't put anything on the credit card you don't already have the cash to pay for. So I told her, I said, look, you can start to book your airfare and your lodging because you have the cash to pay for it. And we still have a plan to save the extra, the additional $700 toward her goal. But you can start to put purchases on the credit card for airfare, rental car, lodging, those types of things, because you have the cash to pay for it. That's how a sinking fund works. And I was surprised. We started putting $100 away per paycheck apparently about a year ago. And I had lost track of, I knew we were doing that. I didn't know what the balance was. So we were reviewing some balances. And when she told me $2,300, I just had to tip my hat to her discipline. Her discipline has gotten her there. Wow. You were disciplined and faithful to the $100 each paycheck. And here you are, $700 away from your goal. That's awesome. So, whether it's tech, whether it's a vacation, whatever it might be, maybe you have to replace an appliance or you want new furniture, whatever that might look like, I want you to start thinking about, how do I plan now to buy later? And that's how you do it. You create a sinking fund, you map out what's your timeline and how much can you afford to save from every paycheck or every month between now and the desired date that you would like to purchase. Now, you might look at it and say, I want to buy a new cell phone in 6 months and it's $1,000, but I can't afford to save nearly $200 every month. So maybe the timeline needs to shift. And you look at, okay, I can't afford $200 every month, but I can afford 100. So instead of 6 months, it would be 12 months, 10, 10 months. And so does 4 months really make the difference? Is 4 months really a big deal? Now, with some things, it's going to be different, meaning, for instance, I have a wedding that I'm going to in October. That wedding is not going to move. So I have to make sure that I am contributing enough to have what I need by October. I can't move the date. But on something like replacing a cell phone, you get to choose when that's going to happen. So does it really have to happen in 6 months? I understand if that's when you want to do it, but is that when you must do it, or can you wait? And so you allow time and the amount that you're able to save to dictate the process here. I want you to consider, if I had to buy this thing at full price today in cash, would I actually do it? Would I actually want it? And so sleep on large purchases. Give yourself 24 to 48 hours to think about large purchases. A part of all of this has become our impulse. We are so impulsive to buy things that if we would just delay gratification just a little bit, we would have more clarity around the things that we claim we want and need. And delayed gratification isn't some sort of punishment, it's discipline and it's preparation. Those are good things. Discipline and preparation are good. They're very good. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but it yields a harvest of righteousness. Discipline is good. Preparation is good. Delayed gratification is good. And I will also tell you, as you're putting together your sinking funds, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to repeat it now. When you're putting together a sinking fund for the thing that you claim you want, because it's giving you time to think about it and you see the fruits of your labor and all the effort that you had to put into saving that money, when you go to make the purchase, one of two things is going to happen. Either you are going to reconsider and say, I worked too hard and too long. I actually don't want this thing as badly as I thought I did, which is okay. Then you get to reallocate those funds to something else. Or the second thing that could happen is you actually do make the purchase and there's no stress, There's no regret. There's no buyer's remorse because you've had time to think about it. You know you want this thing. You've been saving up for it for months. And so when you go to finally purchase it, you do so guilt free. Freedom. Planning now to buy later is freedom. Buying now and paying later sounds like freedom to acquire what you want when you want it, but it's a counterfeit. It is bondage. Buying now and paying later is bondage. Planning now to buy later is freedom. So just let me ask that question. Would you rather live in bondage, financial bondage, or would you rather financial freedom? The choice is yours. You're an adult, you get to choose. And then here's a fun little activity mentally. Anytime you're considering buying now and paying later, ask yourself, would future me thank me for this? Or would future me be stuck making payments for a burger I already ate? Would you take a moment to consider future self? Tell current self to be considerate of future self. All right, so now let's make it real. Come join the conversation. Join us on Patreon, where we'll be talking about what is your next purchase that instead of buying now and paying later, you're actually going to plan now to buy later. Come join the conversation, share examples of things that you are going to shift. And if you are stuck in a buy now, pay later cycle and you want out of it, remember that I do offer a free coaching session. So get that scheduled today so that we can make a plan that gets you out of the buy now, pay later cycle.
That does it for this episode of the New Money Habits Podcast. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on social at New Money Habits and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review to help us spread this message of hope to people looking for a better plan for their money.